traditional enterprise or hand-to-hand combat. I mean, because you could make the argument that Workday shouldn't have been successful because, like, it started, 14 years ago? But yeah, it's in a huge business right now because, it turns out, like, it's still a pretty fragmented space, and if you provide a stellar product, people will switch. And so I have no doubt that, sometime in the not-too-distant future, as Gusto moves up to mid-market and eventually enterprise, it will be a competitor with the ADPs and the Workdays and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that we read about in advance of this call was this idea of like the Gusto employee, kind of an employee, a portable employee passport, for lack of a better term, or like you can keep your records within Gusto. And I think if you say that as the ambition is to have Gusto in larger companies and mid-sized companies and smaller companies, that idea makes a lot more sense than kind of how we were understanding it as a number of small businesses. I mean, I don't know how much migration there is between company sizes, but you've got to think there's some.
Well, I think what you'll find is that, like, when you sell to enterprise, it doesn't matter how many employees are going to be on Gusto. It's whoever runs the HR and sort of payroll team is going to choose the vendor, right? And so the lifetime Gusto sort of account actually matters the most for small business owners, and because their employees sort of shift very quickly, and they sort of have an account and have a personal relationship. So Gusto recently released flexible pay, which is a way for them to sort of form an even deeper bond with the employee. But it also means it's also true for small business owners, because what ends up happening is small business owners most small businesses go under within sort of the first 2 years, but a lot of people start repeat business owners. So this is something where, like, they'll go back to the vendor they know, and they already have an account, they understand the system and all that. It's a lot easier. So I feel like this is a space where Gusto has really kind of hit out of the park with tackling sort of acquiring that space. It will be interesting as they go to mid-market, which I still think is a really ripe opportunity because no one does that well. I think it'll be extremely challenging from an enterprise perspective, but I think the strategy for Gusto going to enterprise is a straight strategy that ADP or Workday does, etc. So I don't think there's any secrets there. For example, like that's a solved problem. Like, people know the best practices. At that point, it's really like, what's your price point? How good's your product? And it's just attrition at that point. So that actually is probably a less interesting conversation. That's probably going to be more about financial engineering than some of the sort of cool product strategies or tactics that Gusto has employed.
Yeah, and one other question, just going back to you talked about the relationship with the employee. Like, was that something where Gusto felt like they got a lot of traction, or was it kind of a project in progress where it was the ambition to get employee engagement? Because the reason I ask is, like, as somebody who's had a few different jobs, I can't think of myself, at least, or anyone I know who's really spent a lot of time getting to know their payroll company, and maybe that's because we've had ADP and Paychex at these bigger companies. But, like, what does that look like? And is the stuff like the payroll, what did you call it, the payroll flexible pay, move the needle on that, or what does it take? Because it's just a foreign concept.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is, again, publicly Josh has talked about kind of being, caring deeply about employees within sort of small businesses, that being sort of the lifeblood of the company. So, I don't think it's any sort of surprise that Gusto has built a product not just great for the employers and the managers of these companies who manage the payroll system, the benefit system, but the employees themselves, right? Happy employees tend to be happier workplaces, tend to lead to happier companies and managers, and more successful companies and managers. And so this has always been part of its DNA. Again, it goes back to a little bit of brand. It could also go back to a little bit of like organic sort of word of mouth, right? I think it's not trivial to say that if you have a just go and Google, just go and look up Gusto sort of testimonials and look up their Twitter feed and see how many of those are like from employers versus employees. And you can see that forming a relationship employee has probably, I would say, long-term brand benefits and long-term